All right, guys, it's time to make our birch tree painting in first grade. Now you need to understand that the background is a painting, but all of these trees, they get glued on afterwards. They are made out of paper, so it's kind of a painting, kind of a collage, a little bit of both. And first graders, you guys kind of know a little bit about collage. Remember, that's when you cut something and you glue and stick it on top of something. So we're gonna make this painting first on the first day. Then we're going to make the trees, glue them down, add some shadow on the second day. So painting, let's review. We're gonna be using something called tempera cakes. Remember, tempera cakes are dry. You have to get them wet to work. We are not sharing water. Everyone's gonna have their own water and their own paintbrush. That way Miss Hopkins can clean the brushes when we're done. We are not touching this tray with anything except our brush. We are not touching this tray with anything except the brush. So Miss Hopkins does not need to be wiping all of these down in between classes really hard because your fingers aren't touching this tray. If you have a problem with the tray, you raise your hand. Mrs. Hopkins will come around and fix that tray for you. You should not be touching it. Thumbs up if you understand. Awesome. Let's talk colors. We're gonna be using warm colors because this is a nice fall themed project. Yellow, orange, red. Repeat, yellow, orange, red. Those are our three colors. If you wanna get crazy, you could toss in some magenta or some pink at the very end. This example goes yellow, orange, red, and then a little magenta in the sky. What color did we do for our grass, boys and girls? Green. Thank goodness you didn't say blue. I would have been very concerned. So when you watch, you'll know exactly what to do. All right, let's go ahead and get started with our teacher example. First things first, it's always a good idea to use some kind of pencil and draw a line dividing where you want the grass and the sky to be. That's our horizon line. Everything underneath of that, I'm going to be painting green for my grass. So I have my tempera cakes here. I have a paper towel handy, just in case there's any drips. It's my own personal paper towel. I've been using it all day. So I'm going to use my water. I'm wetting my brush. I don't need a giant puddle here. I'm using green like everybody at the table, so you probably don't need to add a ton of water to this if it's already wet. I can see the tempera cake still has water in it, so I can just grab a little bit of green paint there, and I'm painting horizontally. Don't worry about your table. We can always clean those up with some baby wipes. It's a little paint, it's not gonna hurt it. All right, wipe your cup. Here's my cup, this is a big cup. Always wipe on the edge if you have too much water, never tapping, wiping only. Please be careful with your cups at your table. Little bit of green going this way. Try your hardest not to get the green off the page. I think that you guys can be careful, but you can always clean it up with a little wet paper towel. Miss Hopkins might come around with a water spray bottle. You have your paper towel, you can clean it up. Green is done, yay! Now it's time for my sky colors. Let's review. Yellow, orange, red. You have to use those three. If you wanna have pink at the top, or magenta at the top, that would be fine. No purple, no blue, no turquoise, no more green. I'm gonna paint really fast in that order. Same technique before. My brush is like a ballerina. It stays up on its toes. It never scoots around on its bottom or it gets fired.
So what you're gonna wanna do is watch how I go from left to right with big brush strokes, making sure that I'm using paint that is nice and wet. When I get to my next color, which is orange after the yellow, I blend the two together with a little bit of water so that the yellow fades right into the orange. And you'll see how I do the exact same thing with the red. And after the red, we can either go to the magenta or you can use the pink. But we're always gonna blend before we go to another color because we never want it to look like it's stripes. Each color should fade nicely into the next color.
And there's my painting. That's the perfect painting for the first day of the project. All right, let's talk about day 2. On day 2, you're gonna come in, your paintings will be dry. They're gonna have to stay in your room to dry overnight. You're gonna be making a lovely set of birch trees here. I'm gonna scoot this painting out of the way so we can dry, and I promise it'll be dry enough for me to glue in just a few minutes. It doesn't matter how many you pick. I always say go with an odd number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 fingers, 5 trees. 5 is an odd number because you always have something in the middle if you have 5. It's easy to split it in half. 3 would be fine, 5 would be good. I don't think you need to go to 7. That's a lot of trees. Say 3, say 5. Pick one of those. If you really want to do 4 and have an even number, that's fine, but I think 3 or 5 is best. I've got my paper here, so let's go ahead and make some trees. I might give you a bigger paper or a smaller paper. You get what you get, you don't throw a fit. So I don't have to draw them. I'm just gonna kind of try to cut a straight line. If you want to be really crazy, you can draw them, but I think you guys could probably cut them. We might try drawing them. But we gotta get a workout with our scissors. All right, let's count how many Mrs. Hopkins has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, they're all gonna be the right height because I'm not gonna give you a paper that's too short. It's important that when you cut them vertical. Let's watch again with the other paper. This paper is the right height, okay? That's what we want. We want vertical. Don't make them short trees. Short trees are bad. So a vertical tree lays down and it's nice and tall. It lines up with the top of the paper. These trees are pretty boring. They don't look like birch trees yet because we haven't done any of our little black lines with our crayon. And they just kind of look like paper strips because we didn't round out the bottom. So we want them to look really nice, so we're gonna round out the bottoms of these trees. The first thing that we're going to be doing though is adding our black lines to a birch tree. That's what makes them look like birch trees. And if you saw on Mrs. Hopkins' Bitmoji slide, we had birch trees in the background. So we're gonna add some lines to these. I like to use a black crayon and add some curved lines, almost like you were making a zebra stripe. There you have it. And I like to put some knots in the trees if you want. Boom, done. I'm gonna do this to all of the trees really, really fast right now. So here we go. All right, I've got my 5 birch trees here and they're ready to be glued on. Now we're gonna be using our glue stick, okay? I don't need my scissors anymore unless I'm making my tree shorter. And you don't wanna have short, stumpy trees. You want them to be pretty tall. So let's go ahead and lay our trees on the top of our paper. No glue yet. We wanna line them up with the top of the paper. So I've got my trees here. I'm lining them up with the top of the paper. If I leave a gap, that's not what we want. Say no, no, no. Good, some of you said it. Thank you. I totally heard you. So what we're gonna do, space them out the way you want. Let's look at my teacher example. These, I had some of the trees going all the way to the bottom, which is awesome. You can totally do that. You don't have to make them shorter at all. All of these guys don't quite reach to the bottom, so I can see the flat edge. We only want to have one flat edge, and that's lined up with the tippy top. So what we're going to do is we're going to round them out a little bit. This is what I have my 5th graders do to help make a round tree. Ooh, can we see the difference here? This looks so much better. This is what kindergarten would do. This is what 1st grade would do. Now, if you have a skinnier tree to make it look farther away, check this out. I'll make this guy super skinny. You can round it out. Ooh, I want to do a better job of rounding. And you can actually put it behind, put it more in the background by pushing it higher up on the paper. And it's going to change our perspective a little bit. So I'm going to round out the bottoms of these trees here. always making sure that they either go off the top of the edge or line up with the top. I think I want to make one more skinny tree. I'm going to make another skinny one right here. A super skinny one perhaps. And really make this one look like it's farther away. Changing the distance. It's still touching the grass, but it does make it look like it's farther away. And finally, that one just got rounded out just a little bit. So a tree that's skinnier, we can make it look like it's farther away by pushing it higher up on the grass. And now I'm ready to glue. Use your glue stick. Don't twist it, twist it, twist it. You only need to twist it up a little bit. Okay, I'm going all the way down, making sure that I get my glue on here. Now this should be on the second day of the project. The next thing, after we glue these down, we're going to be adding our shadows with our black crayon. Okay, so make sure that you get the heights exactly where you want it. I want this one pushed back pretty far. Notice it sticks off the edge a little bit. I'll trim that later. We just don't want to have anything get glued down and leave a big old space there. No gaps today. Everybody say no gaps at the top. Awesome. I've got a lot of Roundup kids outside squawking, so hopefully you can't hear them yelling like crazy children. They're very loud today. And just a couple more. Push this one to right about here maybe. And I'll trim the top of that one. And the last one right here. Okay, so that's 5 trees. I think all of our first graders should be able to get 5. At least 3, 5 would be really awesome. So if you still have your scissors and you need to trim the tops a little bit, that's okay. Don't worry. Now let's make it look like we are second graders. Are you ready for this? All right, grab your buddy, Mr. Black Crayon. We love him. That's what I use to make these awesome lines in our birch trees. And we're just going to draw an angled shadow. Very softly. You could use that with pencil. I'm just gonna do it with crayon because my temper cake is dry enough. Your shadows all have to have the same angle. If your trees go all the way to the bottom, like in our example here, these two don't have a shadow because they don't show where the tree ends. They don't see that cast shadow. But these are casting a shadow, and where one tree casts a shadow, the other one should have the same angle if they also are in shadow, and showing shadow, because the sun's behind them. So we have a really fancy looking picture right here. This thing is ready to take home. Of course, you should put your name in the corner just like all the famous artists. So I'm writing Mrs. Hopkins right in the corner. All right, first grade, I can't wait to see these when they're all done. They're going to be masterpieces, just like everything you do. See you later.